What's up,
we're
guys?
back again. There's
Yes.
no
Not
deja
no,
vu going
not
on.
again lah.
No
Back.
deja
Oh,
vu going on again. This is
welcome,
not
madam.
not the
Welcome to the waiting room, Madan. Welcome.
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 You
Thank
enjoy
you. Thank you for having me.
you enjoy being here for the first time, yeah? It's a pleasure. Sorry.
Yep, yep, yep. Definitely pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
You
No,
nailed the background, man.
pleasure's
Okay.
all ours. The pleasure is
I actually tried one of those like virtual background with space and all that, but I couldn't get the space between my hair right. So
okay.
Oh, yeah, man. Kacau, that one. Yeah, they just haven't worked those bugs out. Yeah,
I'm,
man.
I'm
uh,
I'm still running El Capitan, so I'm not. That doesn't allow me to fucking put a background on my.
shit.
Because I just refuse to upgrade because I just keep thinking
We need to upgrade, is it, to
too
get
many.
that?
No, it's just too many. Yeah, you have to. I think it only Mojave or something like that onwards that you can have the background. So and I kept freaking out about upgrading my Mac just in case I lose it. Some because I'm running Pro Tools and I just keep expecting something to go hideously wrong.
Donate, donate.
Don't
Yeah.
So Madan, how are you, lah, Madan?
How's it
I've been
hanging?
all right, man. I've been all right. Been keeping busy. Things have been looking up since the lockdown was released again. As with all lockdowns, there's a period of nothing happening, and then you gotta just pick things up again and remarket yourself, remind people that you're still, you still exist.
Yeah.
So it's been all right. I can't complain. It's on the up and up, and hopefully things go back to normal.
Why don't
You know.
why don't you tell us how you manage? Because as a business owner, rather, because mostly we've got musicians on who
Mhm.
technically are their own business and I because their own self entity, but
Yeah.
you've got a physical space and employees and things like that,
Mhm.
responsibilities way above that. They think about how did you deal with lockdown one and then this whole last year from March going into it.
Well, lockdown one was absolutely soul crushing. It was unprecedented. Nobody knew what was going on. It was kind of like zombie apocalypse. You
Kind of
don't know
like,
how long.
is this real? Is this really happening? Sort of thing, like.
Yeah, yeah. It's like how you go through a loss of a loved one. You go through the 7 stages of grief. You got disbelief and denial and anger and then you just come to terms with it and you just have to make the best of a bad situation. And it was a little bit more complicated for me because my son was born a month into lockdown. So
Yeah,
Yeah, man. Daddy,
yeah,
yo.
yeah, man, he just turned one.
that's a
Just
cute
turned one.
baby, lah, dude. Like
He's a very
that
Thanks,
cute.
day,
man.
Nikki
He's a very
sent
cute.
Yes.
some videos of your kid, and it's just like, oh my
Ah,
god. There you go.
Nice.
yeah.
What's
So
your kid's name?
Nathaniel.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Nathaniel.
Yeah.
His full name?
Nathaniel Raphael after the Ninja Turtle, not the painter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nathaniel Raphael de Cruz Pathy.
What?
The
Oh,
Cruz? Oh yeah, because Nikki. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Brandon got
Cool.
excited for a bit.
Thought, wow,
Nice.
namesake.
Yeah,
Eh?
the apostrophe.
yes,
not
the
a
apostrophe.
Yeah, possibly not. So man, the lockdown happened for your company. How many? I don't know. How many months of work had you booked prior
Well,
to that you had to cancel prior to going into March? Like, say you're in February and then it started to happen. How many months were you months ahead? Like, as far as like your stuff on the books.
yes, actually, we lost at least 2 months worth of bookings. It was fast. It was not too bad. But what was really bad was we had a road show and some events lined up, and that was a big chunk of the year's revenue, and that
Yeah.
was just all gone, just like that, gone.
ooh.
Yep.
And there was no obviously because it's a lot of ways people do it in Malaysia, which I don't agree with, but like I can understand it. You don't do 50% deposits up front and stuff like that, or do you do 50% deposits?
I do 50% for big enough jobs, but sometime starting January, for some reason, clients were reluctant to do the 50%, and I did not quite understand why, but I think they kind of got wind that something might happen soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it wasn't just me. It was quite a few people in the industry. I spoke to a
And,
few people.
and the deposits are only refundable if it's not force majeure, and which COVID is.
Yeah.
COVID is the biggest example of force majeure. So you can keep the 50% deposit. Like just go, nope,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Wow.
anybody wants to know what
Yeah.
force majeure means, essentially just the French word for act of God.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
it's a standard contracts that if that
That
happens,
was also what was in my contract with a certain place that I was playing at, and
Wow.
Mm.
they had paid me kind of at the beginning of every month, and because of not only just the contract said it, but because of good faith, we had to return some money because yeah. So
Wow.
I guess
Damn.
that just kind of happened to everybody also lah.
Mm.
You know.
Wow.
so what was the transition then in the business? Then? Obviously, there, as you said, there was like the 7 stages of grief.
Mm.
So March hit,
Yeah.
nothing. Then there was nothing. At what stage did you kick in with some new business ideas, or was it pretty because you had the kid and stuff like that? So obviously, like
Yeah.
your head was like
Yeah.
must have been
Yeah.
completely up your ass. Like so, like when did you start to get your head up
Well,
with a clarity again?
the first few months was kind of like I mean I was supposed to be on paternal leave anyway, so it was kind of forced extended paternal leave. There
Yeah,
was pretty much little to no income for about 6 months or so. So that was like savings all dried up,
yeah.
and
Same,
the
I think
loss
same for all of us.
the loss of the potential jobs that was able to cover a lot of expenses for those months. So that was quite hard as well. So when the lockdown was sort of semi lifted, they had this conditional movement thing. Then we could go back to work. What we did was we started doing live streaming experiments. I had been doing some live streaming work since 2018. Nothing serious, just for fun. I was helping out a friend JJ with his talk show.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we started experimenting with like DSLR cameras and video switches. We had the space anyway. We had some lights that we accumulated for video shoots at the premises. So we started experimenting. We brought some bands in, did some free live stream events, honed our skills, and we started selling that as a service instead because a lot of businesses were moving online. A lot of events were becoming virtual or live stream. So what I then did was instead of trying to book events, it's not going to happen. I realized a lot of clients had a need for basic stuff that has to happen anyway. That's already part of the marketing budget, like press conferences, media launches, things like that. But they couldn't do it with an audience. So we sold a package where we went to their premises, we shot their event on a green screen on a backdrop, and broadcast it to whatever platform we wanted, Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, whatever. And that kind of saved the business,
well,
not the studio itself.
that's
Yeah,
fantastic that you're able to like
Yeah.
see a niche that needed to be filled and do it quick. Like, because it could have
yeah,
been very easy for you to just to go into the pits of despair and go, "We're all doomed." Because a
mm,
lot of us probably, a lot of us did. A lot of us
yeah,
just curled in their ball and we're all fucked. Like the reason, well, one of the reasons, no, the main reason this podcast exists because we were just like going, "What the hell do we do?" So we just needed an outlay. We needed an outlay to just to have something to do. Like, so that's the reason we started this podcast, just to have
right,
something during the lockdown something
yeah,
for us to where we could discuss stuff, plus get musicians on or the local arts people on to discuss it. Like so, yeah, it was really good. That, but you were able to do that on a business where it actually
yeah.
generated proper income, which is great.
Because at this point it was pretty much do or die because the studio kind of became a white elephant. Because
Yeah,
even if you think about it, a lot of the work was external, which did not require having a physical space. So and also there was a backlog of overheads that needed to be paid.
yeah.
Because even though there's no revenue, there's still like wages to be paid. We have staff. We've got one staff, and we didn't want to let them go because it's not fair, man. I mean, it's
He's your boy.
yeah, and it's just cruel. Like, I'm sorry we're not making money, so it's no money for you either. That's just bad.
Was it
Shouldn't do that.
and was there anything from a government, because back home in the UK and Ireland, a lot of the governments were paying they got sort of kind of like a stipend. It was like 70% of
Yeah,
whatever your previous year's wages were. The government
right.
would pay that. Was there anything from the Malaysian government into that regard that helped
Uh,
the businesses go
I
towards the wages of your staff?
I did not get the wages thingy. We had a I think we didn't have to pay EPF for that period. But wages was just on us to pay. If we wanted to reduce the pay or whatever, that was up to us. But we decided not to do that because it just wasn't fair. We did get a one-time payment of, I think it was 3,000, something like that. Just a one-time payment,
Yeah,
which was, nothing.
yeah.
Barely much, yeah. Wow.
It's kind of to be fair, it's disgusting the amount, like, because we know the amount of money that travels about in Malaysia. I've never seen in so much display of wealth in any country in my entire life. I mean, it's everywhere, and like the fact that they can't, in these sort of emergency situations where they can't help the the public, like, it's fucking really really bad. It's just not good, like, and we all know where the money goes, unfortunately.
I suppose that's a topic for a different.
Yeah.
Not for
That,
this
that,
not for
that's
this
an entire
podcast.
series by itself.
Yeah, definitely not for a music podcast. But it is just depressing that in these sort
Yeah.
of emergency scenarios, at least good business owners like yourself, high
Yeah,
and dry, like high and dry, like.
but I mean, even in my circles on Facebook or whatever social media silo that we're in, I've got a lot of musicians in my circle, and I've seen a lot of people really struggling. A lot of people, trying to make a living doing live forward. Yeah, a lot of people just started selling the instruments. A lot of people started going to F&B, cooking from home, and doing food delivery just to make
Yeah.
ends meet. Brendan, you did that.
I did it.
Brenda.
Honestly, like,
I did that as well.
it worked, lah. It actually worked for a while because then when the
It
pandemic,
works.
hit, you just didn't know what was going to happen.
It worked for a finite period of time from home.
Yeah.
The F&B, because you, for that finite couple of months, you got your friends backing you up, but that only works for a certain length of time. Then it's either expand or die, and when you want to expand, then the second lockdown came in, and everything was done within a 10-kilometer thing. So if you're trying to sell food to your friends within a 10-kilometer radius, you're sort of fucked.
But see, this is what I think about the whole situation, right? When your main source of revenue is not happening anymore, and then you move into something like F&B, you're cooking from home and you're selling food. That's a great move. You're doing something, you're providing a need to which there is always a market, and at which point you could go back to your usual job, you can. But things like selling off your instruments and just complaining that there's no work and expecting handouts. I mean, that's fine for the first few months where you're still in denial and you're angry and all that. But in the long run, I'm sorry, lah, guys, but it's just you gotta get your head on straight. This is happening.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't just sit and whine about it. It's happening.
Yep.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And like for me at that point, I saw my studio as a liability because it was not generating revenue, but I had to upkeep it. I had to upkeep the business. I had to upkeep the staff. There was a lot of money going out. I was fortunate that there was some money coming in from elsewhere, but I had to keep this thing alive. And I thought of letting go of the studio, but then I thought about it. I took a step back in the bigger picture. That would be akin to me being a musician selling off my instrument.
Or
Yeah.
it would be like
Definitely.
as a pianist cutting off your hands. Because to keep yourself going, like it may sort you out for the short term, but where are you going to be when you need to start up again? Like
Your tools, yeah, true. Wow, man. Yeah.
like, because we know this is only going on for a finite period of time. It ain't going on forever. It is a finite period of time. But
That's
like,
it.
so
No, that's it.
where are you? Like, have you ever sold off your studio and then you have to start up again?
Oh man, that
You
would
would
be.
never start up again. Like
No, not gonna happen, man, because we don't have that kind of money. You see hotels closing down because they don't want to spend hundreds of thousands a month. paying their wages and all. But they can just close up and start again whenever they want. They have the capital. We don't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man.
So, what's your outlook as a business owner? How do you see it going now at the moment?
Okay. The straight up. This is
No,
really
be,
what
no,
I
be
think.
honest. Be honest. Be honest.
Yeah. Okay. This lockdown was, if you look at silver linings, this was the best thing to happen to businesses because it sped up in 1 year. It sped up what should have been 5 years worth of
Learning,
development and growth.
learning.
That's
Yeah,
true.
Like the whole digitization process that would have taken 5 to 10 years happened in 1 year
yeah.
Yep.
Not
because of the lockdown.
I don't even not even just that. That was one benefit. The second
Yeah.
benefit is the education for musicians in as far as their finances and their savings and where their income streams are coming from. They ain't going to make these mistakes again. This will
Yeah.
never happen again. Like musicians have learned to diversify themselves
You
extremely,
have to.
extremely
Yeah.
well.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so like, because we know loads of our like I know people who are horror stories. Some of the most abang of musicians, all the fucking, some of them, and they've been in the industry 30 years and been struggling. I'm thinking, but you've been getting regular high
Hmm.
end work for as long as you've been around. Where's your savings and stuff like that there?
Yeah.
I don't think any of them did.
Yep.
It was
Yep.
just, it was just, oh, it'll be okay, lah, sort of fucking thing, like. So, but we all got help. Like, if it wasn't for Marina, I'd be fucked. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Marina anyway. Like, so like that's a completely different story. Like, but like Marina was my hero throughout this last year. Like, she kept this fucking household going. Like, so like I've got all the respect. No, always had all the respect, but she was the fucking boss lady. Like, so which is great. Like, so, but yeah. But yeah, it made everybody learn hard,
Yeah.
quick, as you said, man, hard and quick.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Uh,
and like you said, how Marina was keeping the household afloat. There was a few months where there's absolutely no revenue from my side, and we had to dig into my wife's. When my wife was working,
yeah,
she had a substantial EPF saved up,
yeah,
so that actually got us through a few difficult months.
yeah. Same,
So
same, exactly the same. It made you quite. Obviously, it made all question ourselves as men. Like, you're like, what the hell, what's going on? But also made you
yeah,
made you just look. You get to
No,
respect.
it's teamwork.
You get
It's
to
teamwork.
respect. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
to respect your wife even way
Of
more than you
course.
did. Like,
mm,
so it's like, and any marriage that survived this last year will survive a lot of things. Like, because there's a
That's
lot
true.
of stress and everything.
yeah.
Yep.
Right? Who's got the dog, guys? Madan, is that your dog?
That's the dog behind. It's the next row. It's
Right.
it's
It's
really
okay.
far away. I don't know how it gets.
Sounds like it's at your
That-
feet.
That's to show
I'm
that we're
in
real environment.
I'm in my room with my cat. This is my cat's room. The green room is the
Oh.
cat's room.
Your cat's got its own room.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
Wow.
I don't have an office at home, but the cats have a room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we've got the whole fucking COVID thing over with us. Let's take back to your youth and your musical journey, because you're not
Yes.
only a business owner and a sound engineer, you're also a musician. Stylus.
Yeah.
I pronounced that wrong.
Citrus.
I trust.
Citrus, like citrus, but citrus.
I apologize. Anyway, so you're a musician. So
Billy Ray Citrus.
take us take us through your musical journey. When did the bug hit you, and who had it?
Right. So that pretty much it when I was 15. I got my first guitar from my neighbor. She just gave me a guitar. And, yeah, man, I never stopped playing. Never stopped playing.
Wow.
So wanted to be a musician ever since. Actually, I wanted to be a musician before that, but then I got my guitar and I actually learned how to play it. That changed a lot of things. So by the time I finished school, SPM, I had to pick a course to take to go to college, right? So I picked audio engineering because it was the closest thing to music, and I mean that was nice enough all black fallback plan as a musician, and if I don't make it, there's still
Yeah, where you could tell
so,
your parents, I'm not
yeah,
just going to be a musician.
yeah,
I've got and I'm going to be an
Plan B.
engineer. I'm going to be an
yeah,
engineer.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So I went to SAE. That was between '03 to '05. Graduated in '05. Um, See, the thing about education in this kind of creative field is that it's a very personal experience. I can tell you that every single person in my class, it was a small class, like 14 of us. Every single person, every single one of us had a different experience. It's what you choose to take back.
Of course.
Most of them, I think only 3 or 4 from my class are still in the industry. Everyone else went on to something else. And it really depends on what you take back from it and what you want to do with what you take back.
Very self-driven lah. It's gotta
You-
you gotta be
Has to be
Yeah,
like
yeah,
because I did a HND in music production. Like I actually got after my music production, I actually got on the SAE in London and LIPA, the Paul McCartney Institute of Performing Arts, but I never went, which is a sort of a regret. But I ended up getting a degree in masters and other things. But yeah, our class was about 15 as well. But like there was always only two or three in the class who were the people who were going to end up being in the industry for life, and you know them. Everybody else sort of like they're there to kind of trade water,
yeah.
smoke dope, chill out. For a
become
day.
insurance salesman after that.
Yeah. No, yeah,
Because what?
You know the
you're
two.
absolutely right.
You know the two or three. They're the people who sleep in the studio. They're the people who are still there at 9 o'clock at night, fucking like still mixing or editing or just trying to figure out some new stuff. Or like I did, my summer holidays. I just asked the head of the department, "Do you mind I just come in my summer holidays and just hang out at the studio?" And he goes, "Yeah, of course, come on, just come on."
Yeah,
Which I
man.
did.
When I left SAE, I held the record for most overnight sessions, and I think I held the record for a few years after that.
Nice. This was
Yeah.
SAE when it was in Taipan, is it? Or no?
This was USJ 9, just after
Oh, you're saying
Taipan.
Taipan. Okay, okay. Ben's Beaches actually.
What
When
did
I first joined, we actually found some time there. I think Ben was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we set up and you know what blew me away? There was a guy without arms. I don't know if I've told this
Oh
story
yes,
before.
yes. She was my senior. I
Oh damn!
forgot his name. Yeah.
Okay, so you know this guy, yeah.
Yep.
what did you have
Power.
studio wise? Like, oh, it's your main studio.
Sorry.
Sorry, what?
What was your main studio at SE? What did you have equipment
Uh,
wise? That's right. What were
oh,
you running?
they had 2 rooms. They had a 8-track room and a digital room. 8-track had a Mackie 16.8
Okay.
running into a hard disk recorder. So that was as analog as it got, like no
We
screens, nothing.
We
Yeah,
had
that was a pretty analog setup. I think I
Yeah.
used it for
Nice.
one or so. Yeah.
we were I was at my college at the same time. We had our main studio had a 48 channel Soundtracks GDS, which was
Right.
inline flying fader automation, but
Oh,
was all
nice.
running the Pro Tools, but was all running off 4 ADAT machines and
Mm,
one one with DigiDesign. It wasn't Avid back then. It was a DigiDesign 808. I think the 8 channel one, and then 8 channel that was 8 channels of AD
right,
conversion, and then
right,
there was 4 other ADATs providing the
right.
other amount of AD conversion, which is just anybody knows an ADAT machine is essentially an audio recorder, but it's like a videotape. So it's a
Yeah,
Yeah.
big giant videotape
big
player.
ass one.
Yeah, so
I still have one lying around somewhere.
so
Nice.
so yeah,
Relic.
it was kind of it was kind of hybrid because we were doing Pro
uh,
Tools, but it was on the
it,
the
the,
ADATs are analog.
it's digital. It's digital. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, well, you don't have to chop up the fucking ADATs, which is good,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. But
Yeah.
yeah, our studio was quite good. But
That was
like you,
that was a good setup, man. We had I think our Pro Tools was like a 002 or 003 or something like that. It's nothing close to what you had.
we got the first G5 in Europe when it
Oh,
first came out, and it never worked. We had to get the Apple specialists in from Europe to try and fix it, and it would never fucking work. It just kept crashing. But I think it was more a Pro Tools problem, like
right.
because fucking trying to operate Pro Tools with anything, they would crash. Sneeze, Pro Tools crashes, like so.
Oh well.
But anyway,
That was the
So you graduated from SEE
Mm.
and straight into business or straight into someone else's?
Straight, I had an opportunity to join three other friends who had an existing studio, just need another partner. They needed an engineer. None of them were engineers.
Oh,
What were they?
three partners. What they do?
Okay, so one guy owned the building, so he had an office in the front. He was in oil and gas, so he had a bit of money. And
Okay.
there was a whole half the floor which was not being used, so he built the studio there just for fun, for his
Just for
friends to
fun,
plan.
build the studio.
Yeah,
Oil plus.
As you do, like.
oil and gas. Yeah, the money.
Wow. But did he build the studio properly, or was it just like a whack something?
Macam jamming studio lah, bro. Like eight
Okay.
curtains on the
Okay, good.
So I went in. I brought in some. I think I brought in like monitors or something like that. Just all Elysis monitors, M audio monitors. Yeah, some crap. There was already an existing test cam, some U series 4-channel interface or something like that. Nothing fancy. We used Sony Vegas and Cubase SX at the time. It was very basic,
Functional.
Functional. It was really fun, and what was great was that graduating from SAE, the long-term plan, the long-term dream is to have your own studio, some place you call your own and build your career from there. And I had the opportunity right out of the gate to do that.
That's great.
Right, which was great. And but we were young and stupid, and there was no plan.
How old were you?
19. Yeah, 19.
19?
19. Wow. Straight way out.
You don't need a plan at 19.
That's fun.
Let alone open your studio at 19. That's like different.
Don't need a plan at 19. You just need to.
Nice.
Oh, do you want to do this? Aye. Well,
Yes.
okay.
Come.
Exactly how it happened. Yeah. So I mean, needless to say, it was an epic failure, right? But fortunately, we didn't really have much overheads. Rent was kind of paid for. Whatever little money we made kind of went to like chipping in for the utilities, things like that. I think it goes without saying that we didn't take back any money because it was one.
Wow. How long they last?
Less than a year. Less than a
Okay.
year. And
Do you have any other recordings?
oh man, I might. I have a good habit of archiving things properly. So
Well, that's
I
good.
probably have it in an old hard disk or CDR somewhere.
Oh, I used to keep all my CDRs, and then I just went one day. I just went fuck all this. I'm never gonna.
He threw it all
I
away.
used to keep all my
Yeah.
I used to consolidate all my Pro Tools files, like proper
Right.
archiving, and keep them all in CDRs. And then one day I just cracked and went, nah, I'm not doing this. Fuck all that.
Move to Malaysia.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
And those CDRs don't last forever, man.
No,
That's
they don't.
why. That's true.
You
That's
try
true.
you try to load them on anything, they're just gonna go, nah, go fuck yourself, like go for it. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Because that's how
Yeah,
you.
so-
That's basically how we used to archive back in the mid 2000s. We just archive
Yeah,
everything on
CDR.
CDRs, like
Yeah.
or DVRs.
So confident, huh? Wow. Then one day you turn on, there's nothing.
I can just see Steve Albini just stand there shaking his head, going, "That's fucking."
Oh
idiot."
my God.
Oh,
yeah, man.
man.
So by the end of that, I had to take a job, because
Damn.
I had to
Yeah.
start making some money, lah. But the thing is that I learned a lot from this because we were able to actually service proper real world clients with whatever little equipment we had. So I honed my skills as an engineer. I learned how it was in the real world, as opposed to doing an assignment in the school studio.
A very
So
controlled
that-
atmosphere, like in
Yeah.
school, which is it's like laboratory
Yep.
compared to real world.
Yep. So you meet all sorts of characters. That was the most important thing. Working with characters.
People skills.
Yeah,
You learn
yes.
people skills.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is because we always say 50% of a good sound engineer's job is people skills.
Dealing with
Yeah.
weirdos, man.
Yeah.
You're in college, it's just one or two weirdos, your usual lecturers. You're dealing with all this. That's true.
I was dealing
Dude,
with clients who are paying money.
Yeah.
You gotta learn how to
Weirdos with money.
No, I would go as far as to say it's 90% people skills, 10% because you can teach a monkey to operate something. You know?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can.
People skill.
Yeah.
Can.
True.
I
Yeah.
would,
But
I would kind of go 50%, 30% technical, and then 20%. No, 20% technical, and 30% your artistic, which is the mixing, which is
right.
Yeah,
which
50%
which
people
you can
skill.
which I don't think you can teach. Either you can mix or you can't. I think it's
That's true.
I think it's a skill that you can sort of teach you a small level, but like it has to come natural to you. Being able to mix
Yeah.
properly, like you either know it in your bones or it doesn't.
Mm.
But like yeah, people skills is a massive.
It's a big bulk.
It's a
Yeah.
massive bulk. It's the main bulk of you being a
Yeah.
sound engineer. I think. And Madan
Yeah.
probably and Madan agrees. Like it's the main bulk of being a sound engineer. People
Yeah,
skills.
definitely, definitely. I had an intern recently. Amazing guy. He picked up things really fast. Amazing technician. I left him to handle a session on his own, and he did everything right. But the client called me up and she said, "I'm sorry to tell you, but the session was really bad. It could have been done in like 2 hours, but you went on for like 4 to 6 hours because your engineer wasn't decided enough. He wasn't assertive enough. We needed someone to help produce. So you see that's the thing. That's where the difference between an engineer and producer
Oh yeah.
really comes in.
Once
Yeah.
again, that's the
That's
artistic
true.
fucking side of it comes in.
Yes.
Like so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're not just
So just
operator,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
can like you can know all the equipment. You can know all the equipment does, but
Yeah, correct.
True.
If there's no first, the communication also is key lah. If you don't converse and figure out what both parties want
Yeah.
and then work together towards achieving something, then
Yeah.
of course it's going to take a lot longer than, hey, you know what, I don't like this is how it works. And then even like
Sometimes.
even when working with you, Madan, before,
yeah,
like I'm only on the artist, on the performer side of things. So when there very rarely is a time when I'm performing all my stuff in front of somebody else who is actually analyzing it and trying to take it somewhere else, as opposed to just somebody who's just listening. And
right.
yeah, there were things in that record that I wouldn't have thought about
Yeah.
doing before.
Exactly.
Yep.
Mm.
So those kind of things, like, of course it helps time go faster lah, helps people decide what they want. And yeah.
And
Of
I think
course.
even as a musician also, it also gives musicians an insight. Like, we're so used to just performing, but then, when you go into the studio and then you're like, oh, okay, wait, now it's a whole
Different.
different work
Yeah.
it's a two-way thing. You're sitting down, you're talking with the engineer, and then the engineer is telling you how certain things are being done and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience. Like even as an engineer or producer working with different artists or different clients, it's a very different experience every single time because it's there's a certain chemistry that happens.
Mm.
Sometimes certain artists, certain engineers, certain producers just cannot work together. It's not because of lack of skill or lack of anything. It's just the chemistry just isn't there. Yeah, and
we
you have
all
to admit,
we all know that. We all know
yeah,
that.
like music is such a subjective thing that you use very vague terms to describe music. Like I want it to sound warmer. What the hell does warm actually mean? Or I want it to sound more orange. Like to me that may make sense. I want it to sound orange. This sounds like orange to me. It may not make sense to you.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You're also translating, right? You're
Hmm.
translating these things into forms. That's so
But,
true.
but
But
this
as
this
an
is where the
engineer,
people skills come in.
as an engineer,
Ah, yeah, true.
that's what you're supposed to do. As an engineer, you're the conduit. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
artists don't know frequencies. Well, a lot of artists don't know frequencies. They don't know the engineering side. So when they go warmer or orange, it's your job as the engineer to go, yeah, I know what you mean, and just
Mm.
turn up fucking.
Let me give you an example. Yeah. So I had this client who was listening over to a mix, and her feedback was that I don't know, man. It just sounds very it's good. The recording sounds good, but it just sounds a bit amateurish. And I was like, wait, you said the mix sounds good, but it sounds amateurish. So what is it? It's not the performance, it's not the mix. What is it? So I took a step back and I tried to understand where she was coming from. Now, this was a rock song that she was mixing for one of her artists she was managing, but her preference, she tends to listen to a lot of R&B and hip hop, things like that. Okay,
Ah,
all right. So usually
ah.
R&B and hip hop mixes, they have the vocals front center super loud, louder than the kick, louder than anything else, right? And when it's not, it doesn't sound polished enough, hence amateurish.
Yeah.
So I told her, okay, give me a second. I just moved a few faders here and there, played it back. She's like, yeah, that's it. What did you do? Nothing. I just brought the vocals up a few dB.
Brought it in your
It's,
face.
at least you knew
Yeah.
at least you knew in the context of
Yeah,
what she was in
that's
her
true.
taste and what she
Yeah.
wanted. Like,
That's true.
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's really important to put yourself in the client's shoes. Here's the thing with a lot of engineers that needs to be fixed, needs to be correct. A lot of producers and engineers, I mean, it's normal for us to all think of us as the hero in our own story. That's very normal, right? But when you're in I always feel that being in this business, running a studio, is your main business is realizing dreams. That's what you're there to do,
serving the client.
serving the client. So you're
Serving
not
the
the
client.
hero. You're
Yeah.
the conduit, like you said, Derek. You're the conduit.
I sort of go with the Albini to an extent, Steve Albini's philosophy, which
Mhm.
is it's their art. Whatever the way they want to sound, that's what your job is to get them to sound the way they want to sound. You, you cannot impose your biases about
Mm.
mixing our music onto their music. I agree with that to a certain point. Albini's more than willing to allow his name to be associated with shit.
Mm. Mm. True, true.
Yeah.
I'm not, and then because musicians come up with these stupid, crazy ideas, and it doesn't. For me, it's does it. My only thing, does it help the song? Is it
Yep.
helping the song? Like, and if it doesn't help the song, then I'm going to say this does not help the song in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And then I'll have an argument and we'll have a debate. But generally, most, as Brendan well knows,
As you should.
as you
No, but
should,
it's good.
mostly, I'm about 75% on board with Albini's thing philosophy of it's the artist's art. Our ego shouldn't even be involved in it, like, because our biases may not understand what they actually want, because we as individual mixers, we all listen to completely different types of music, and we all think certain music should be done in a certain way, like I come from a rock, metal, and goth background. I think everything should be mixed in a certain fucking way, like, and like you, Madden, especially with rock songs, vocals getting super upfront, prominent vocals in a rock song is not the way we do things. Like, it has to be in with the fucking music. Like,
Yep, you're
the
right.
vocals has to be buried in, not buried, but in thick with the instrumentation. Like, if it goes up too front, then it just sounds like it's dissident from the actual music that's going on. Like, so but that's the thing. You have to get into these conversations with them and try and figure out what the hell, which is the psychology part of being a fucking engineer,
Yeah,
engineer as well, which is
yeah.
another part of your job. Like, what's the psychology of going on here?
And
Like,
you start questioning yourself and how are you handling yourself as a human being? I'm a guy.
every time, every time.
No, but once you master this, then you get to become the mud lange kind of producer where your opinion fucking matters and you get to put your stamp on every single song. In fact, you get to do
Yeah.
backing vocals on every song you do.
But
Mudland.
Mutt's a whole different person. Like, he's a whole another animal. Like, so
Isn't he married to Shania Twain or something?
Yes, that's right.
he's also got his.
they want to marry you.
He's
That's
also
the level already.
Mudland.
he's also got his production name on at least 3 or 4 of the biggest selling albums of all time across different genres.
Different
Yeah.
already. Level. Level.
He's on Back in Black. He produced Back in Black.
Oh,
That's
yeah?
45 million albums. He produced both Hysteria and Pyromania of Def Leppard. Both of them are all 20, 30 million copies. He produced all Shania Twain stuff.
Yep.
That's in your 20 or 30 million fucking. On 3
Yeah.
artists alone, he's over the 100 million mark.
Shania Twain was like, had to lah.
Shania Twain. Oh my god, man.
The first few albums is to like then after that it's like, honey, you better do this album for me.
But the thing is, I'm not a huge fan of his production. I'm just not. He likes things aside from the AC/DC stuff, which Back in Black and stuff like that, which is fucking fantastic. Everything in the end just started becoming very robotic and not human, especially the Def Leppard stuff. There's almost no humanity in the Def Leppard stuff.
Actually, that's true.
Nothing sounds like
organic. Yeah.
Nothing sounds organic at all. Like,
yeah, that's true.
No, but Derek, you gotta remember this was the 80s.
That was a non-organic time.
nothing. There was almost no live drums on any of your favorite band albums. Almost no live
You know
drums.
what? I could argue that by the 70s, the recording art, the analog recording art, has been perfected. When you listen to stuff from like Queen from that era,
I agree.
I
agree. My
shit. What's that band? Oh shit! Come on, the one that did Fleetwood Mac. Yeah. You could listen to a Fleetwood Mac. You could listen to Rumors today.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was released
amazing.
yesterday.
It's
Sounds
amazing.
amazing.
It's amazing. No, I agree with when it came to analog recording. It's the 70s perfected it.
Yeah.
Because my favorite drum sound is from the 70s. That dry, fucking dead, fucking drum sound of the 70s. It's just the nicest drum sound I've ever heard.
The 80s was just boredom, you were so bored with everything.
Cocaine.
Let's just try something.
Cocaine. The 80s was cocaine. We all know what happened in the 80s. It was all cocaine and fucking.
Let's try this. Let's try that.
Cocaine and avarice. That's what the 80s were. Cocaine and avarice. And then the from 1990 to 96, we came back to some sort of semblance of normality again, like with the alternative, like where it was just
It took all that artifice, right? Then people go.
I mean, the 80s was just like, is there enough reverb in that? No, let's just get another back to truck and dump truck of more reverb.
But the only positive thing about the 80s aesthetic was that you had killer television theme songs, lah.
Oh, amazing!
That's the only plus side, right? Yeah, that's the only plus.
You cannot do a montage for any film without having 80s rock.
That's
film.
true. That's the only saving grace, lah.
We got some amazing albums from it, but it was a very, very, plastic era, like, and a lot of it was just. And Madan's right. These boys were just bored, and they got new toys, and it was boys with toys, and what can we do? Yeah, we'll just mess about with fucking new stuff. And they did invent a lot of new techniques. The Phil Collins plate reverb, gated reverb was probably the biggest prime example of technique that came out of the 80s, like that snare. Gated reverb, like so, but like. It pushes amazing albums, but it's so inorganic sounding. Like now, like you listen back, go, oh god, like what the fuck's going on? What were they doing? They were doing a lot of cocaine. That's what they were doing.
Sound of coke.
I guess it was cool at that time. Like, just didn't stand the test of time.
Mind you,
it wasn't timeless.
Rumors was recorded on a mountain of cocaine. If you look at any of the documentaries on Fleetwood Mac, they were saying that they were doing lines of cocaine off the Mexican desk. Like,
but those toys hasn't arrived yet, right? So they only had what they had.
They had what they had. It was very organic. They had a few channels and they got the.
It was Sound City, wasn't it?
It was Sound City, yeah. It was Sound City, yeah. They were all recording. It's called producing going in. You're crafting your sounds as you're going to tape, not fixing it after in the mix, which is the way it should be done. Like, I know I need to put a shout out to Maha Jeffrey, who just sent me an unmixed song that he wanted me to mix tonight, and I listened to it, and he goes, and I just sent back a message. I went send back a message. I go, fantastic mix. It's almost done. He goes, Derek's not mixed yet. I want you to mix it. I go, you don't need me to mix this. I go, who recorded? Who you produced this going on? He goes, yeah. I go, you need to sort out this. Two things. You need to sort out this, and you need to sort out that, and that's it. Leave it alone. I go, it sounds
to
fantastic.
Get it out. Yeah.
Go, it sounds fucking fantastic. And they did all that going in to tape rather than trying to then send it to me for me to
and then decide. Yeah.
amazing. It's just
now
song sounds amazing.
Now, so on this topic, right, Derek? So now you just shared about Maha sending his own stuff, and you're talking about the 70s and the 80s, and now, we are in the 2020s, and with the pandemic and everything, people started producing their own stuff.
Well,
You know,
that's what I was wondering a
everybody's
bit why.
right.
Yeah, but yeah.
So,
But yeah.
how relevant is it now going to be for people like Madan or yourself, even working in a studio, a physical studio, and everybody now could just produce music with a Mac and their own DAWs at home and stuff.
That's
It's
all
a
well good.
long time coming, man.
Yeah.
Long time coming.
But people are always going to want a specialist. They just are.
Yeah, if they can. Yeah,
Yeah, they just
it's
are.
true.
They're just going to. They can do all their stuff at home, all they want, and a lot of them are really good at what they do. But like, they're going to want a specialist that they take it because you can record and produce and mix and master your own stuff. Like Ash does that. Who's a fucking lunatic? Ash writes and fucking records and mixes and masters and all stuff, but Ash is an anomaly. I love the guy and he's a savage when it comes to that. He gets great results, and I have no complaints about what Ash does. But that's a lot of stress on a human being to do. Like most musicians want to concentrate on writing music. They don't want to have to understand about fucking frequencies and auto tune and time aligning and editing and all this fucking extra baggage that comes with their craft. Their craft as a musician is to write songs. So if they can record the song at home, great. That's all the better. They can record it, and if the quality of the recording is good, the next thing they want to do is just hand it off to someone to fucking polish it. Finish it
This
off.
is exactly the Billie Eilish model. Like, when they say she won a Grammy from a bedroom recording, that's half truth. But the actual truth is that she recorded everything at home, which anyone can do. But at that point, they handed over the files to a competent mixing engineer who handed it over to a competent mastering engineer.
Yep.
They had a marketing team, they had a PR team behind it, they had a management team. They did all the radio runs, they did everything an artist is supposed to do.
Yeah.
So it is not someone literally sitting in their bedroom producing something and sending it off the radio like, hey, I've won a Grammy. That's not what
it.
happened.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
That's what sounds good.
Yeah.
That's what sounds good.
That's how it comes out in the press, right? It's like, well,
That
she just
sounds
like
good.
she
And, like,
woke up and recorded and she won a Grammy.
that's what sounds good. But like, have you got the ability to like Brennan's last song Evermore they released? Brennan recorded everything at home and then sent it to me. And then I mixed it and then we sent it to Pete Maher and Pete mastered it. Like, but it was a good chain. The three chains was all good. Like, it would never have been. I would never be able to do a really good mix in that song if Brendan didn't do great performances of that song,
course.
and the recording was clean enough for me to be able to take it to the level that I took it to then. Like, if Brendan had sent me fucking like a half amateurish recording, I would just send it back to him. No, that's. But as soon as he sent me a track, I went, everything's nice and clean. Great, I've got a blank canvas now. I can do what I want to do with it.
Yeah.
And Brendan did with his vocals what he normally does with his vocals is usually pretty good, pretty spot on the mark. And I never have had to tune Brendan's vocals.
And honestly, I'll say I'm fairly new to. I mean, aside from being in SAE also and not practicing,
Partly forgetting that he ever was there. Never,
yeah, because clearly, you go on to do other things. So, but I'm fairly new to this. Getting to the mixing side of things, and I find myself stopping myself from actually getting into it too much because I want to engage a mixing engineer and I want to engage a mastering engineer as well. That's just...
I think you're doing the right thing, because when you wear too many hats, that is a recipe for killing creativity, killing your vibe.
Yeah.
You just, I mean, like what Derek said, not everyone can be like Ash. Ash is an anomaly. He's great at what he does. It works for him, but it not work for everyone.
I don't know how he does it. I don't know how.
And sometimes he's doing 2-3 people at the same time. The time I was recording with him, he was doing Volatile. He was also doing not Nadir. He was doing Volatile.
He was doing Skies Are Red.
And Skies Are Red, and I think maybe some of Nadir as well. But he was doing everything
Everything.
volatile. He was taking from scratch. Me, he was taking from scratch. Well, I had songs, but he would do his producing, and I would, again, the same thing with you also. Like, I only have my set of ears and eyes and my imagination. Then you give it to somebody else, you trust them with doing something, and then he takes it all the way from there to right to the end, and then wow, it's just like, dude, you went and did the whole thing, like, dude, the mixing, the mastering, everything.
Just like that. Yeah.
But guys, okay, since we're on that topic of like putting in a lot of time and effort in making the song great, right? Here's a little bit of something to think about now. In the 70s, there was a golden age of recording. You could a big enough band could book out a studio for 6 months, park themselves in there, write the songs in the studio.
Yep.
And that's the dream. That's the dream that we were all told, and that's what we want to do, right? But it's just we don't live in that era anymore. Times have changed. You got to churn out music. You've got maybe a week at most to put out a song, and this is kind of why hip hop rose to prominence and rock and roll died. This is a theory that just bear with me. Yeah. See, in the 80s, people in New York, the ghettos and all that, they didn't have access to instruments. It was a steep learning curve. Studio time was expensive. At that time, 808 machines were, nobody wanted to buy 808 machines. Sounded like shit.
They were actually dumping them in their back. The studios were throwing them out.
Exactly.
Throwing them out, like.
So that pad with old turntables and old records and all that, that was the birth of hip hop music.
That's true.
And
it's truly from the people. Yeah.
Yeah, and the entry point and the learning curve was so low that anyone could pick it up. And 80s it was born, 90s it rose to prominence. By 2000 it completely swept everything away.
Yeah.
There was no more rock and roll.
Yeah.
Because rock and roll maintained what it was. You got to record drums, which is expensive, and you got to have the skills and money to do it.
It's true.
So now when you look at kids with laptops and Ableton producing music at home, like what you said, Fabian, the lockdown has caused a lot of people to just make music at home. I honestly think that's the future. And like how Brendan, you recorded your songs at home and you sent it over to Derek. Derek, you sent it over to Pete to master. That's how it's going to work.
Yeah.
Everybody, the need for a home studio has never been more important. Everybody in the industry needs to have a home studio. How equipped it is depends on how much you need to do with it.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, like Brendan, you don't need a drum room. You don't, because you're recording your tracks.
Yeah, correct. But now I'm already envisioning, dude, like this small thing. I'm thinking in about 10 years, I've broken down 2 walls here, joined some group, and I've got a massive studio lah.
Yeah, kick out the rest of your family. But this is mine now.
But you're right. Based for what I do right now, and honestly, the last thing I sent to Derek has been very little live instrument recording and more program loops and stuff. And I also didn't think I'd be doing something like that, because I had set myself up for just recording my vocals and guitar, maybe bass, single line tracks. And now, like you said, it's just
Brendan's new song's gonna surprise a lot of fucking people.
I can't wait, man.
We got a little song coming with Brendan, and it may be the best thing he's ever done.
But
maybe the best thing he's ever done.
Like you said, the need for a home studio, especially if you're in the industry, has never been more important, I think.
But is there a fear that when things get too overly programmed, and are we going to lose that whole element? That, I mean, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but I enjoy watching bands perform live and how they get everything done. But then if you have people who are just programming all their stuff, now Fabian, they're going to go.
Fabian, I understand your point, but look at the 80s that we're just talking about.
I was just about to say that.
The 80s.
Yeah,
look
so
the Def Leppard, the majority of there wasn't a fucking non-programmed thing in those Def Leppard. Everything was polished and tweaked and fucking done. This is way before auto-tune and Pro Tools. Mutt Lang and all were just tweaking everything to death I mean, to death. I mean, it was almost like a robot was doing it, like to the point where it was just shamed of all the humanity. Have you listened to Hysteria or Pyromania or Def Leppard? It doesn't really sound like human beings singing, especially the vocal harmonies. It doesn't. It sounds weird. It sounds amazing. The songs are fantastic, but it sounds strange. Like, so like
But
it'll always depend on what you regard as. There are always going to be human elements, and always going to be
yeah, I
music
mean, like
that
the
very
80s, the
fashions.
80s was the era when punk rock bands were not punk, but rock, the alternative scene was happening outside.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so it's not
There'll always be
sort of
scenes.
like, yeah,
We're
they always be. It's
we're all,
cyclical too.
we're talking about the most bigger bands that sell more, but like there'll
Yeah,
always be underground scenes that are
yeah,
burgeoning and finding their
keeping it
voice.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, one thing's for sure, 40 years from now, there's going to be a bunch of guys on a web call, talking about how shitty and programmed music was in the 2020s.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's cyclical. Yeah, so,
Always, it always is. Like it
always
always
is.
cyclical. It will always be cyclical. Like fucking. But
Yeah.
there'll always be scenes, and with
Yeah.
the underground scenes will be always the ones that will lead the way. They always have, and they always will. They're they're always the scenes that releases the new bigger bands.
I
Always
mean,
have been.
in terms of home studio, all my albums were all home studio. Only this recent one I did released last year was, but I recorded live in the studio. 'Cause I didn't have money. I had to nail it down. I had to get all the songs, 10 songs, 3 hours, done. I don't like spending time.
Buffy
So, but you
Clyro's
can make it work. Yeah,
Buffy Clyro's second album took 10 hours to record
there you go. Yeah, so it's possible.
in a studio in Scotland. Their
You
second
make the
album
studio work for you too.
Yeah, it took 10 hours to record. The last EP I did with a band that I was in, we did a 4-track EP over 2 days of recording. The first day was the music that was done in 6.5 hours. The second day was just left for vocals, and then a final day for mixing. So 3 days, 4-track EP done in 1 week. In
Yeah.
3 days, it was done, dusted. That was it.
And I like the charm of a bedroom. I mean, like, because I have always been bedroom recording since early on. Then later on, my friends' studios at home in the bedroom, like really DIY, like using the cloth hanger and then putting pantyhose over it as a to mute. So, but but there's a certain charm that when I went to a real studio, it's like oh, it's different. You take some adjustment, right? Not that I don't like it, but it serves a purpose, right? As like what you said.
It can be intimidating for a lot of people to go in there a proper studio.
That's true. That's
really
true.
intimidating. Like I have friends who are some of the best musicians I've ever
Freak
worked
out.
with, and they like, I'm a terrible musician, but I could do my parts in one take in a studio. I just found it comforting with a click track. I could just do my parts.
What do you play, Derek? I've never known what you play.
In both bands I ever played in was guitar and bass, but not at any high level. It's all alternative, very basic chords, and bass was just root note, like, but it was like kind of, but it worked for the band that I was in, like, but I was very tight. I could do my parts in one take, the click track.
I mean, that's what you're saying now, la. We don't know, la.
Well, I can send you the music. They're very, very tight. The recordings are very, very, very
Got
tight.
any videos or not?
Of us live? Yeah.
A music video or something?
No, we never. This was in the mid 2000s. There was no music.
Yeah, you need to buy videotapes. It's not a phone.
There's live gigs, like there's videos from live gigs way back in the day, but
You're an engineer, probably edited the heck out of it.
fuck all that. So, what about your own music, man?
Yeah. Let's get back to that.
Oh man, I've actually not performed or written anything in more than 3 years. There was the wedding, and then the baby was coming, and then pandemic happened, and creativity wise, nothing much, man. It's
you haven't written anything in ages.
I've started a few things here and there. I haven't finished anything.
I think the last time I seen you live was your album launch in Murder.
Yeah, I continued playing about a year or two after that, and 2018 was my last show. Never played since.
Where was your last show?
Madikaria.
In Murder.
Yeah.
Was that the one with Brendan T and?
Yes.
That lineup. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was like a reunion of sorts, right?
That was the last show. That was the last show I seen seen of you. It wasn't your album launch, but it was Brendan Tay.
Yeah, that's right. That was I was going through this whole Depeche Mode phase.
Very Depeche Mode phase.
Yeah, that was fun. That was really
Very
fun.
Depeche Mode phase.
Uh,
And you definitely need Brendan Tay in for that.
Yeah, that's right. So he's not in town, so that's a bit difficult.
Where's Brendan now?
He's in
Sydney, man.
Sydney.
In Sydney.
Went there to propose and then he got stuck and actually he's happy lah. I think he kind of worked his way. Oh man.
The funny thing is, I did a live recording for Skids that
Ah
night.
yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that night said, okay, dude, I got till 12 because I gotta go home. I gotta catch a flight at 4 or something like that.
Oh, you mean
Because-
Ngam Ngam ah? Ngam Ngam after that? Shit.
That day I saw him, he flew off and he never came back.
Trapped in Australia, where every animal can kill you. Every animal's dangerous as hell. Even koala bears in Australia fucking out to get you.
Your toilet, man, you got a redback spider, man.
shit.
They can kill you, man. But anyway, hey, tell us like a bit when okay, your studio, the first one tanked, and
Yeah.
then you find. But your music was still going on. You had a band then, or were you just doing that?
Oh yeah, I had a band with Brendan actually at that point. We were playing some underground gigs here and there. That was fun. What was that? Motorbike. Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
That
so-
sound ah?
Yeah.
That was a
Like a
motorbike
race
on the LDP, I'd say.
Oh, next to your house.
Wow, lah, ciao.
Okay. Yeah, so I still had a band back then. So between 05 to 08, I had a couple of jobs. I even fit in like 2 years of a mass comm degree course, which I didn't finish at that time.
Ah.
Yeah, but
Hey.
that time was good for the band because I had a steady paying job, and by the end of it, I was actually making quite a bit of money. So having the financial stability actually made playing in bands a lot easier because you're not really making money from Sunday Rock gigs.
Of course.
And you
Yeah,
needed
yeah.
money for
Yeah.
practice and things like that.
That's
So
that's how we do it
Yeah.
back home. Like,
Yeah.
because you don't make any money from playing original music in Ireland. You've all got normal jobs, so
Yep.
the playing the music is your passion. Like, so like you don't worry about fucking making money from gigs as long as they give you your.
Or at least one band member who's got a job, and that was you lah.
I guess that was me.
Yeah, depends what age. Depends what age group. If you're in your early 20s, yeah, there's probably about one member in Ireland. Early 20s, there's about one member who's got a job. Who's usually me, and everybody else is on the dole. and then you're okay. But as long as you got your transport to the gig paid by the venue and then a few beers, you're sort of fucking happy. Like,
Yeah, it was just an excuse to hang out with the boys and have some fun.
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. That's what you did. Did you used to work for Peter Bragford for a while?
No, I worked for Ivan Zuzati.
Oh, you're.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Ivan's around you work for.
Yeah, that's right. From the time I was in college, and I went on till quite recently, I think, till about 2010, 2012.
Okay, cool.
Off and on, yeah.
Yeah, I worked with, started working with Ivan pretty recently. Like, he's just a madman.
Yeah, I think I passed him your number.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I did. At some point, he was looking for an engineer. I was like, try this guy.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate
There
it.
you go, man.
So, but keeps getting banned from Facebook for being a fucking lunatic.
Yeah, dude, his posts can be a little bit.
His
vulgar.
posts are hardcore.
Huge United fan.
Mhm. Yes, yes.
He is, unfortunately.
Yeah, man. So so music wise, the job actually kept the music afloat. I was able to play all these unpaid shows and had a lot of good fun. But sometime in 2008, I was sitting with a good friend of mine, and we were at crossroads in our lives. So I was unhappy at the job because it was so crushing and boring, and and I wanted to do the whole music thing. And he actually sat me down and told me, at some point in life, you got to decide what you want to do. Either resign to the fact that music's going to be a hobby and focus on your job and, go be the best you can be in your career, or let it go and make music your job. Do it full time, take it seriously. So I picked the latter. I quit my job, and he actually kind of quit music and went on to make a lot of money. Yeah, he's doing really, really well right now. Yeah,
Okay.
so I quit my job. I started managing the
Do you get
studio in
jealous
SS.
from time to time from bastard?
No, man. I mean, looking back, there's been lots of ups and downs. There's been times where I actually wanted to give up, but I wouldn't change it for anything because I wouldn't be the person I am or where I am right now if anything had changed, if anything had been different. It the good times were really good. So
Cool.
just for that, I would do it all over again.
Nice, nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're coming close to the. Yeah, I think we are coming close to the end because Asmal, you
It's
need
okay.
chow.
Like, yeah, no, it's okay. We can another 10 minutes. That's
Okay,
cool.
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah. One of the part the journey is not that done yet. So
Okay.
yeah,
Let me just continue from there. So 2008, I managed a studio called 12 Records. Now this time, my second studio, right? So I learned a lot from the first place on exactly how not to run a business. So I kind of had a plan this time. We did pretty well. We were just managing the place. The deal was I pay a fixed amount of royalty to the owners of the studio, and everything else is ours to keep. And we did really well. We had two jamming studios. I brought in our own recording facilities. I brought in my own. I did my own setup there, and we ran the place for 2 years. Had money in our pockets. We played a lot of gigs. I started organizing shows at that point. That was when the artista scene and all was coming in. I think, yeah. But yeah, artista scene. That one we need another whole.
yeah. I think we need another special episode.
No, no.
Uh,
Quick 5 minutes. Go.
No, get
it
it
won't
won't take
end.
quick 5 minutes.
Why not? Why?
Because it's too long. The last time itself we went on this, we ended up must have been 20-25 minutes.
Artista. Amazing times. Yeah. So that was that period at least like when that you were running this and excellent.
That's right. So by 2010, I got an opportunity to start my own thing. I had a partner come in. He was willing to put in a little bit of money, not much at all, a little bit of money to be a sleeping partner because he always wanted to have a studio, and I wanted to start something of my own. So this time, my third attempt, I had full control, full reign. I drew up a business plan. I did a projection, a financial projection. I designed my system from scratch, did 3 months of research, picking equipment that will, slightly more expensive, but I'm still using that stuff today, 10 years, 11 years on.
Wow.
But some really good stuff.
This was the original Pulse Soundworks.
This is Pulse Soundworks 2010.
Okay,
we
cool.
started.
Okay,
We
cool.
started in SS18.
SS18.
What was
Okay.
your
Yeah.
what was your original interface?
I bought an RME AES32 sound card.
Hammerfall.
No, newer than Hammerfall, the one after Hammerfall.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I had an Audient ASP008 preamp with AES outputs and Audient Centro DA converter and monitor section. So it was all AES in and out, PCIe slot direct to the computer. So virtually no latency. AES is rock solid. Drivers with RME rock solid.
What was your gigabyte or your RAM gig at the time? Your first in the 4 was it?
The first one I went all out. I think I went 16 straight.
In 2010.
Yeah. I spent quite a bit on the machine.
You must have thought you had the beast.
Oh yeah, I thought I was the shit.
Nice.
Yeah. It was a really good setup. It's still running, man. It's still running.
I was listen, my fucking MacBook Pro is fucking 16 gig of RAM and it's still rock solid. And there's very few projects that I do that even touches it feeling like. So happy days, man.
Yeah.
As long as you future proof it, man, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, we had to upgrade the machine, but the hardware-wise, it's rock solid. I purposely built a system that was kind of modular, so if I need to upgrade something, it's just one piece that I upgrade. So I could always add in more preamps, I could add in more converters, more DA channels if I needed it.
Yep. And you've always been a Nuendo man?
Cubase. Ever since I left SAE.
Cubase is Nuendo. They're basically the same thing. Is there?
It's slightly different. Different applications. Yeah, but it's essentially the same interface. If you're a Cubase user, you can use Nuendo.
Yeah.
So. Vice versa.
Hmm.
So you've never been brought over to the dark side then?
I was trained on Pro Tools, never liked it, and I dropped it the first chance I got.
I was completely different. I loved it the first time I trained on it because my first thing I was trained on was Cubase, and then which I loved, and then Logic 5, which is in
Right.
2003, which looked like a communist. A communist designed it, and
So
then
what year was this? Because when I was on
2003 was the first time I seen a
yeah,
Logic.
because
2003, 2004.
in
That's the first time.
SAE Malaysia we had Cubase VST.
I can't remember what. I think it was SX3, the first QBS I was on. Like, but this was in 2003. But
Right,
I could just be just saying that because the years sound similar. But
right,
like, QBS was the first DAW I ever was on.
right.
And there's,
SX3 was I think new at the time, really new.
for me, Pro Tools just was logical. It was just two
Right.
screens, mix screen, edit screen, work away. For me, like Cubase and Logic, especially Logic, had too many screens. You open up Logic, and at the time you open up Logic, and 14 screens popped up at one time. You're going, what the fuck is all this nonsense about? Like,
I implore you to check out Cubase now. It is an absolute beast, full production suite. Everything you need. You don't need any other third-party plugins. You don't need anything.
I like probably yeah, but like
Yeah, it's a beast.
I use.
So Derek is trying to get me to go to Pro Tools.
I'm trying to do
And I'm remembering also what I went through in college, and I was like, too many things going on here.
Bren's got a PC.
But yeah,
So
I could,
if he didn't have a PC, but he had a Mac, I would definitely get him on Logic because Logic's really easy to use.
Yeah.
And Brendan does a lot of MIDI stuff for his new stuff. So like,
Mm.
and Logic's very MIDI friendly. Pro Tools is not MIDI friendly
No,
whatsoever.
it's not.
So I wouldn't recommend it for that. But back in the day, I used to use Pro Tools rewired into Reason. That's what that's what I learned, and I loved fucking Reason. I thought Reason was the best thing I'd ever been on for, especially for MIDI stuff. This is great.
No, Reason is great, but if only everything wasn't so tiny, you know.
I know what you mean, but for me it was logical. It was like patching and it was like logical patching because it was
Yeah.
Reason, you have to actually physically patch in the cables,
Right,
like
right.
a proper analog patching. Like for me that was great, and you had to fuck about and like. But anyway, yeah. Oh, that was just a pure geek fest. We just started just a geek fest. That's all me and Madan had. It's great. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
man. So it's been Pulse ever since 2010, 2014. I had like partners in, the team grew, business was growing. It was just an upward trajectory from there. We started a record label, we started a publishing house, we started a
How
digital
was that?
distribution platform.
How was the publishing house?
Bad,
The record label.
very bad, very bad, very bad. I did it because I wanted to.
Well, thank you for being so goddamn honest, because most people
Yeah.
will tell you, "No, it's great, it's fantastic." You just
No,
fucking, "No, fuck, it's
it's
nonsense."
terrible, man. Don't do it. There's a reason why.
yeah. This is why you let the specialists do the special things that they're
Yeah.
Thank you, man,
Yeah.
for fucking just being super honest with that.
No, I'll tell you this. If I stop recording, if I stop doing events, and stop doing everything else, and just focused on running a label, or focused on distributing, or
Yeah.
focused on publishing, one of the three, I can make it work because it's a matter of learning the ins and
Learn
outs
curve.
and
It's
just
just a
doing
learning
it.
curve. Yeah.
This is just a case of wearing too many hats. You can't do it. You need a team.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you've got labels who
But
don't
see,
have a studio. Then you got studios. Then you got publishing houses. Then you got distributors.
that's a prime example where you haven't allowed your ego to take control of you.
At that point, I thought I could do everything. At that point.
But your ego didn't take control of you. Your ego told you, "Yeah, man, go for it," and then you went for it, and you went, "No, I can't do all this nonsense. That's fucking nuts." And you're sitting on a podcast now, admitting, "No, I can't do everything. I just can't do everything. Fuck that.
No, you can't.
Nonsense."
True.
And it takes courage to say, "No, I'm not capable of doing all this nonsense."
Yeah. In fact, I've reached a point now where I would go as far as saying, yes, you're an audio engineer. That doesn't mean you do live sound, you do mixing, you do recording, you do mastering. No, you are either a mastering engineer, a recording engineer, mixing engineer, or a live sound engineer. Or
I would class myself as a mixing engineer, which kind of gets me across a few barriers, mixing live, mixing studio.
Yeah, see, that makes sense.
For me,
That makes,
I'm a mix engineer. I ain't a
mm,
producer. I'm never claimed to be a producer. I just I'll just mix engineer. So that kind of encompasses a few barriers for me. Like if I was in the live world, I would always want a really good system tech to tune the PA for me, and then I've got blank canvas. If I'm
mm,
working with a band like with Brendan, I would prefer Brendan's more the producer of his own music that he wants, or be
mm.
working with someone else, and then I can just mix it as a blank
Yeah,
canvas, and then I get the mix.
you're right.
So like,
I've had years where I was like producer, engineer. Then when I had my own engineer, I was producing. But you know, it's really not my thing. I did a lot of soul searching in the past year or so, the lockdown and all that. The truth is, I'm a recording engineer. I love capturing the sounds the
okay, yeah,
best it can be. I
yeah,
like to capture it to a point where when I give it to the mix engineer, he's like, I don't have to mix this, man.
yeah.
That is the objective.
That's what I said to Madan. That's what I'm saying to Mahad tonight. I don't you. Because the song he sent me to mix, I go. I don't need to mix this. You just need to
Yeah,
tweak. You just need to tweak it. It's ready, done. Don't worry.
yeah.
It's sorted.
And
You're
you know what? The truth is that is a mixed decision. Deciding not to mix or deciding not to
That's true.
master
That's
is a
true.
decision.
yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Because like
That's
I,
true.
did- I like he could have sent it to me and I could have done what I wanted to do to it, but like
Yep.
for me
You
the
could
song
fiddle with it, but if it's done, yeah.
I also been doing is fiddling Asmo. That's all I would do. I would have been
Yeah.
the only thing I would have been fiddling with would have been the vocal, which I thought needed to be bigger. But I told him that I go make your vocal bigger, make your vocal bigger. The song's
Cool.
there. You don't need to touch it. Leave it the fuck alone. What you've done it is enough. It's enough. So don't need to send it to me. I'm okay. And I'd talk myself out of a job like fucking addiction. Like,
Yeah, I
because
was just
But that's what's
thinking that.
needed. But you
I
know, but you're
Yeah,
honest
but
lah.
you can't
You gotta be
be
honest. It's line work.
imposing. Yeah, correct.
I literally just talked myself out of a
Yeah.
job, but like this,
It's
he
your
sent me the-
duty to
he
look at it
sent
and
me,
go and say
yeah,
it's done also.
Yeah.
he sent me the song, and I went, I went, that's a fantastic mix, and he goes, it's not mixed yet, Derek. I go,
Dude, you should
don't
you should
need to
still
do anything.
charge him. You should charge him for that.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you decided. Yeah, that
Yeah, you decided.
you decided for him. You know, yeah, true.
how
Hey,
you
charge
can
him, man, yeah.
Let's take the file, keep it, and then charge under.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right.
That'll be a great conversation in Malaysia. Send someone an invoice for a job you didn't do just because you told me I don't need to do anything this.
It takes years of experience to know when not to mix.
Yes,
That's
that's so true.
chargeable.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
But I don't need to mix the song. I just don't. I just was like, no, you're okay. The song's done. You're all right. It was a good thing for my ego as well, where I was like, okay, I don't need to mix this song. I just don't. And it's probably the first time that's happened. But I'm pretty old, so like it took a long time for me to get here. Like, but I'm glad I'm here. I'm
That was
glad.
the absolute first time that a track has been passed to you and you've gone, no, it doesn't need.
Someone wanted me to mix.
Ah,
Yeah, someone wanted me to mix.
nice.
First time where someone wanted me to mix a track, and I went, no, I aside from the vocal, which I told him just to make bigger, I was like, I don't need to touch it.
Was it a very like expensive
Huge,
recording?
Huge,
Yeah.
huge. He put 150 fucking vocal takes on a fucking track.
What?
Yeah,
150 vocal tracks, sir.
it's enormous. It's enormous. Backing vocals. I mean, it's a choir. So I mean, the song. So you'll know the song when he releases because it's a Maha song that we all know. Like, but it sounds fucking enormous. Like it sounds, and I'm like going like, I don't need to touch it. It's fucking there. It's all there. I mean, like, it sounds fucking great. And it was said who. I'm talking too much about, but like.
No.
it-
He's not like he's hiding the fact
Yeah.
that he's producing with Sid and Sid's recording it.
Sid mixed it, and I've heard Sid mixes previously, and I didn't like them, but Sid did a fucking fantastic job.
Dude, Sid's come a long way, man. His
Huge
stuff's
way.
really good now. Yeah.
Huge way, because I heard Sid mixes pretty recently, and I was like going, but like this song nailed, almost nailed. I just give them a few pointers, going like, do this, and you don't need to send it to me to mix.
Did you mix? Sorry, Sid was what?
Yeah, Sid is on his way to be a really, really great arranger and producer.
Oh yeah. Have you
Yeah.
been working with him?
I sent some work his way recently. Really good stuff, man. He's arranging and producing is really good.
Yeah, because
Mm.
that's what he did for the song for Man. He arranged it and produced it,
Mm.
and then they just I think they did what they thought was a rough mix, just to send to me. So
Yeah.
I would go, yeah, great, send to me, and then I'll just do what I do on it. And the rough mix they sent to me, I just went like, I don't need to do anything to it. The song's fucking there. It's all there. The song is all there. I don't need to touch the song. It's all fucking there. Just change these few items, but I don't need to touch it. I just don't. I mean, the song sounds fantastic the way the fuck it is. Leave it alone.
Okay, we gotta wrap up, guys.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay. Well,
Sorry about that. We gotta.
last minute for our host, our guest.
Yes.
Madan, what have you got coming up?
Coming up, I've got a lot of bookings at the studio for video shoots, and there's a lot of live stream gigs coming up. So
Nice.
realistically, moving forward, this is going to be the way forward for the studio. Like you said just now, Fabian, a lot of people are producing at home, and sometimes they need a drum room, sometimes they need a vocal booth, sometimes they need a mix engineer or a mastering engineer. Then we have work to do. But besides that, we still got to pay the bills. We got to cover the overhead. So it's adapt or die.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
you got to do what you
Definitely.
got to do. Yep. So instead of laying down and dying, we move forward, lah. We do what we can do, and I mean,
Right.
the industry is gonna survive. You just have to find a way around it. It's always gonna
Exactly.
survive.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we are all fucking cockroaches, man. We're not gonna die.
Can survive,
We'll
man.
find
Come
a
on.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our what you call it? Our God is Keith Richards, man. so there's a model we must follow. We'll survive. We'll survive.
Yeah.
That is even a cockroach. I don't even know what that is. That's a fucking animal.
oh,
But anyway,
cool.
man, thank you so much for
Yeah,
being on the
man.
podcast.
Thanks, man.
Great
Thanks so much,
conversation.
Yeah, thanks for
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure. Great chatting. Love to do this again, man.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We'll get you going again. So,
we
All right.
maybe our first live waiting room thing can be at Pulse Studios.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that'd be
Why
a
not?
cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Cool.
Talk show, a proper talk show.
There
Correct.
you go. There
Where
you
we
go.
feature some music also, huh? We can
Ah,
cut scene on the
Ah.
stage.
yeah.
Hey, come on.
think you're fucking Jimmy
Proper fight
Fallon.
scenes also. Proper fight scenes to start whacking.
Bar fight right away.
Yeah,
Wow, right.
we know who's going to be fighting.
All
right.
All
right.
right.
So we'll
Take care, dude.
be safe,
Take
everyone.
care, guys. See
All
you.
right.
Be
Have a
safe.
good night, man.
Good night.
Ciao.
Yeah. Peace.
Ciao semua.